Another one of my grandfather clocks. It's got a moon dial, Westminster chime. The chimes aren't working, and the reason why, because the movement is dirty. If you turn the dial, minute hand, you can press on the wheels to get the chimes to work. But the movement is extremely dirty, and so I have to get the chimes to work a little bit so I could take the weights off. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to take this movement out to clean it. The time works perfect, but the chimes don't work, and that's because the movement is extremely dirty. I'm going to be able to do this on camera, but turning the hand, and then grab a hold of the wheels to get them to work. I had it going. Strike works well without me turning the wheel, but the chime side, I have to turn the wheels. Like I said, I'm just doing this just enough so I can get the weight off, so I can take the movement out. And some of the hammers need adjusted. I said the strike works perfect, but the chime, you have to mess with the wheels. Now with the weights and the pendulum off, there's two thumb screws right here that you undo, and that way you can take the movement out, but you gotta take the hands off first. And it's deer season, gun season, Saturday. And got my son coming over. I had to force this sliding glass door open. It's another thing because my dad flushed the depends down my toilet. It shifted my house, and this sliding glass door is no longer in appropriately, and I had to force it open. But I put some, anyway, my son's coming over on Friday, Saturday morning. He can sit right here and shoot a deer if that's what he chooses to do. He don't even have to go anywhere. I'll set a recliner up right here, and he can sit here, and I guarantee you there's going to be deer on my property. This movement hasn't been taken out in a while The thumb screws are too tight. I couldn't get them out. But there's 2 Phillips screws that hold this seat board on, and I took them off. So now I could take the movement out, but I'm going to have to take the chime rods out with these 4 screws, because I can't take the movement out with the chime rods in the way. Now with the chime rods out, let me see, the dial seems to be stuck. So I'm probably going to have to take this faceplate off, or take the pins out for the dial. That way the dial stays in and I could take the movement out. Or I could open the front door and the dial and the movement and everything came out. So anyway, I got the movement out. I took the pins off the posts for the dial. They go in these holes, and took the dial off. Checking out the pivot wear. I don't see any pivot wear. It is a Hermle movement. Black Forest clocks, Amherst, Virginia. Probably made in 1978. I don't see any pivot wear. And the way you look for pivot wear, you rock the great wheels back and forth, and then look at each pivot to see if there's extra wear in the pivots. And I don't see any pivot wear. And I'm not going to take this movement apart. All right, and I wouldn't normally do this, but I don't feel like taking this movement apart. I got way too much other stuff that I need to be doing. So I'm going to dip this entire thing into my ultrasonic cleaner and clean it. Because this movement looks like it has a protective coating on it, I'm only going to put it in my ultrasonic cleaner for 5 minutes at a time, take it out, and see if the coating is being taken off. Depending on your cleaning solution, if you use ammonia, if you use acetone, there's other stuff. If you leave your movement in the ultrasonic cleaner or cleaning solution too long, it will take the protective coating off, and which is a plastic type coating. And so please don't complain that I'm going to dip this entire thing in my ultrasonic cleaner. I've got clocks that I'm working on for friends. I've got clocks that I'm working on. I've got my own clocks I'm working on. I've been painting my son's studio apartment for the past 3 days, trying to get him moved in. And so I don't have the time to be doing this properly, but dipping a movement in a cleaning solution, ultrasonic cleaner, is better than doing nothing at all. And so this thing just needs a good bath. And properly, you would take the thing apart. But I don't have time to do that. So we'll get back to you after it gets out of the cleaning solution. So I got the movement out of the ultrasonic cleaner. I rinsed it twice in fresh water, put it in my ice cream bucket hair dryer system, and it's dry. So now I need to oil the movement. And what I do, I take a toothpick or a skewer here, and I'm going to, before I do that, I'm going to show you why I do that. This is my clock oil, which is zero weight synthetic oil. And if you dip the toothpick into the oil, You see where the oil is? It's before the end of the toothpick. And so you don't want that, because when you touch a pivot, it's not going to hit where you want it to. So take a pair of snips, tweezers, take something and cut the end of the toothpick off. And now when I dip it in, look where the oil is. It's at the very end of the toothpick. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to oil every pivot. And it only takes a minute drop of oil. And so don't get carried away with the oil. And if it gets on the plate, no big deal. All you have to do is take a tissue or something and wipe it off. And you only want to oil the parts that go round and round and around. You do not want to oil the rack. You don't want to oil the levers here. You only want to oil the parts that go round and round and around. And you might have to move some stuff out of the way in order to oil everything. So I'm going to, and you want to oil the burge assembly. This part right here is called the burge assembly. It's what rocks back and forth on the escapement wheel. The part that rocks back and forth is called pallets. P-A-L-L-E-T-S. And you want to take a drop of oil and oil the entry pallet and the escapement pallet. And then you want to activate the wheel so the burge assembly goes back and forth on the escapement wheel. And you might have to tilt it to get it to do that. See, it's rocking back and forth on the escapement wheel. The escapement wheel is turning. That way you get oil disseminated around on the escapement wheel. And so I'm going to continue oiling. And again, you only want to oil the wheels that go round and round, or parts that go round and round. If they lift up, like if I was to put a drop of oil on this rack, it's not going to fall freely. It needs to fall freely. After a while, with oil on it, it's going to be sluggish about falling. So only oil the parts that continually go round and round and round when they are engaged. In other words, when the strike system is engaged, the fly is going to go round and round and round and round. And so do not oil parts that don't go round and round and round, or it'll stop your clock. So I'm going to continue oiling this off camera. And don't forget to oil the click system. Remember, this goes round and round and round. And so it has to be oiled. And don't forget to oil this piece right here, because it's part of the music system. It goes round and round and round, so it has to be oiled. So whatever goes round and round and round, don't forget to oil it. This part right here, it doesn't go round and round and round. It just, the strike system for the hour, it falls freely on its own, so I would not oil that. And so, anyway, it's all oiled. This lever right here is a nighttime shutoff lever. When you push it up like this, you see all these levers here. They're being lifted, so they can't work. And so when it's up like this, the rack won't work, the strike won't work. It has to be down. That way it works. I need to get a chain and a weight and put this on my movement stand and go from there. This is a second Hermle movement that I've worked on where there are, to me, extra pieces that could be a pivot here here, here, and here. And there's another one over here. There's one here. There's another one over here. I don't know why those extra dimples are in this movement. There's one on this side here, which is the opposite of these. So I'm sure that this movement could have been used for a different system, maybe a triple chime movement. I don't know. But there are extra divots where they could have been pivot holes. Like I said, it could have been for a triple chime system. I don't know. But I'm sure this movement, this 451-050M, might have been used for different clocks. Now I'm going to show you a close-up of this later, but with Westminster chime clock, you got 3 weights. You hear that? That weight has got, that tube has got everything in it. You hear that? This tube has got everything in it. You hear this? It sounds a little bit different. I've got my scale here. I'm going to weigh these weights. This one is 2660 grams. This one's 2654 grams. And I think this is going to be the heaviest one. This is 2682 grams. The heaviest one goes on the chime side. And you see I have a box down here too. That way I can keep my weights, my chains out from underneath my chair and my beat and everything else. I'm not worried about the time right now, but the next heaviest weight goes on the strike. The lightest weight goes on the time train. So what I want to do is try to get this thing to activate. And I need the hands, and I left the hands in the other room, so stand by. The only thing I need is a minute hand. I could turn this intermediate wheel down here on the bottom, but I don't want to. I want to use the hand. I want to see what happens when I had it in the shut-off mode. Remember I told you the up lever was the shut-off mode. Down lever is what makes it strike. So this lever right here is so it doesn't strike. This lever right here, you move it forward. That way it doesn't chime. So it just got through striking the quarter of the hour, and I'll explain that later. This should be the half hour. Half hour it chimes 8 times. This should be the 3/4 of the hour, and it should chime 12 times. Always count in 4s. And this is the hour. And I'm going to explain all this again later. The hour is going to strike the full sequence. Which is 16 different times, and then it's going to strike the hour. Okay, so now I'm going to bring you closer to the movement. This cam right here is what activates whether it's striking the quarter of the hour. This long system here is the hour. And then the short system is a quarter of the hour, and then half hour, longer system for 3/4 of the hour, and then the longest system is for the hour. It just got through striking the hour. Now on the quarter of the hour, whether it's, because it's a Westminster chime, whether it strikes from this way to this way or from this way to this way, I don't know. But it should strike in sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4 for the quarter past the hour. And if it doesn't, I'm going to show you what to do. I'll show you what to do anyway. So this is going to be the quarter of the hour. And see, it's not striking in sequence. So it's out of sequence. So in order to fix that, I got to take this movement off the stand, and I'll show you what to do. And I just got through weighing these weights again. And a lot of times the weights are marked on the bottom, left, middle, and right, or LMR. So these are not marked, so I'm going to mark them L, M, and R. And that way, left for the strike, middle for the time, and right is for the chimes. Whether you mark your weights or not, that's up to you. Okay, in order for you to get, I don't care whether you got a triple chime clock or just a Westminster chime clock, if you set it to Westminster chime and you do what I'm fixing to show you, if your clock is off, this is how you fix it. This wheel right here has got a screw on it. You loosen that screw. And you can remove that wheel. Or you should be able to remove that wheel. With the screw being loose, if I was to turn this, the sequence shouldn't move if I was to turn this right here. However, because this clock has not been taken apart in a while, I'm gonna have to remove this wheel all the way using my dikes, because the way they are designed, I'm gonna stick underneath. My dikes are too big. So using the pair of tweezers, the way they are designed, I'm going to stick it underneath this wheel and push on the tweezers. I might have to tap on the tweezers because the angle of the design is going to cause that wheel to come off, just like so. And while it's off, I'm going to add a little drop of oil to that shaft. That way I don't have any problems in the future. Okay, that wheel is out of the way. So what you do, you turn this gear right here, which will move those hammers. But you got to turn them slowly until you see 1, 2, 3, 4. And because it just struck before I took the movement off the stand, I just made it strike the quarter of the hour, which is, again, this camshaft right here, from here to here is the hour. This little bitty spot from here to here is a quarter past the hour. This spot from here to here is a half hour. Then from here to here is the 3/4 of the hour, and then it starts all over again. So because it just got through striking the quarter past the hour, but the hammer sequence was off, I'm going to turn this shaft until I see 1, 2, 3, 4. And I might have to turn it a few times before I see that. And that's why you want to go slow. There's 1. 2, 3, and 4. That just struck properly the quarter past the hour. So now what I have to do, I have to hold this gear that I was turning and put this wheel back on without allowing that gear to turn. Or I might have to do it all over again. This don't want to go down that easily. And so I'm going to I want to clean it out is what I want to do. I might have to get out my broach and broach out this hole, because it should go on that shaft fairly easily. And doing this on camera is always fun. I'm going to put it on, and then I'm going to redo the 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm not going to allow this gear to go all the way down. It's not cooperating that well. So I'm going to get this out and tap it on. It should go down a lot easier than that. So I'm going to do what I said originally, and I'm going to broach at that hole, and I'll get back to you. Using a cutting broach, I broached out the hole, and now it slides on and off easily. Okay, but I don't know whether or not I screwed up this sequence, so I'm going to back off that wheel just a little bit, and I want to have the screw where I can get to it easily, and then I'm going to do this sequence all over again until I see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to stop this gear. And put that wheel where it belongs. You might be able to see it better this way. Again, it has to be in sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whether it's going from this right to left or left to right, it has to be in sequence. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. And I want to stop that gear, put this wheel on, and then tighten it up. Now you might have to maneuver the wheel a little bit so it matches up with the teeth in that gear. And then tighten up the screw. Now, if you're off one tooth on this wheel that I just put on, one of these hammers might not fall all the way. So now I'm gonna trip this and pull on the chain, and this is a lot of work. And that was just a half hour. I tripped this again, and this is the 3/4 of the hour. It takes a lot of pressure to pull on this chain that I'm pulling on. So I might have to take a break. That was the 3/4 of the hour. Here comes the hour. I'm not a musician, okay? So I don't know which hammers fall into which place on any other of the wheels except for on the 1/4 past the hour. And come on. I need to put this on my stand because I'm lifting this lever up while I'm pulling on the chain. So let me put it back on my stand so we can test it. Now, with a lot of the modern day clocks, if you move the hands really fast, it might not strike, okay? But as time progresses, like because what I did earlier, I was hitting that lever and it kept on going past where it should have stopped. Once you put the hands on and you rotate it, you might have to rotate it. Let's say you put the hand on and it was past quarter past the hour, and you rotate it to the half hour and it still doesn't strike. Then you rotate it 3/4 of an hour. It might strike, and that's because it's caught up with itself. But it just got through striking the hour, and so now we're going to see whether or not it strikes the 1/4 past the hour in sequence. Again, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, and the hammers should be lined up like they are when it's done. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the hammers are lined up. That means I put that wheel exactly where it needed to be. And if it was off, this hammer here might be cocked back like this. So you would have to take that wheel off and rotate it a tooth and put it back on. You might have to do what I did earlier a couple times to get that wheel that I took off and broached out so it'd go back on easily. You might have to do that a couple times to get this sequence in order. Now, hopefully you could see down there. This movement has got two wheels that have warning pins on it. On the chime side, here's the wheel right here that has a warning pin on it. And when it goes into warning, this lever that moves up, there's a tab that goes into the movement that this wheel with the warning pin hits until that lever drops, which allows the wheel with the warning pin to move. So I'm going to try to show you what I just talked about while turning the hands. You should be able to see this tab right here. It's moving up. And you should be able to see the third wheel with warning pin, or fourth wheel. It's probably a fourth wheel with warning pin. Sorry, I'm used to cuckoo clocks. It's going to rotate, and it stopped because it's now hitting that tab that I told you that moved up. And that's because it's 25 minutes past the hour. When it goes 5 minutes further on the half hour, it's going to chime. So, and that this lever right here that the fourth wheel with warning pin is hitting, it's going to drop out of the way, allowing it to chime. Again, on the half hour, it does 8. 3/4 of the hour, it does 12. And on the hour, it does 16 hammers on a Westminster chime clock. Now, we're going to show you the 3/4 of the hour. There, the fourth wheel with warning pin is hitting that tab because that tab raised up. And this is all part of putting your clock together in sequence. Again, I did take this movement apart. I know how. But if your clock isn't chiming, it might be the fact that this pin that I told you it hits the fourth wheel with warning pin is not dropping. You might have put the warning wheel in the wrong position. Now, that was the 3/4 of the hour. On the hour, this lever right here comes up this slot that I'm got the stick in. And there's a warning pin on this wheel that will hit that lever until that lever drops. You see how big this slot is? Maybe you could see it. You see how big that slot is? It's this slot right here. And that lever comes at the slot to allow the fourth wheel with warning pin to hit it until that lever drops. And once that lever drops, and after it's done chiming, it will strike. So here we go. 5 minutes till the hour. You're going to see the governor fan here move because it's going to go into warning. There it's now in warning, and you could see it's 5 minutes till the hour, or give or take. And on the hour, it chimes, and when it's done chiming, you see this lever, it's moving up this slot. You're going to see this wheel, it might have already moved. For the fourth wheel, there it went into warning. Now this lever is fixing to drop, and when it does, it strikes. So the last thing I have to do is the time side, is the actual time system itself to get the birch and crutch assembly to rock back and forth. So let me turn this thing around and we'll talk about that. Remember, this is the birch assembly, okay? This is what rocks back and forth on the escapement wheel. All clocks have got an escapement wheel and a birch assembly of some sort. Now, this is called the crutch assembly, this part right here, this part that I'm moving. This crutch assembly is adjustable one way or the other way. Now, these screws for this bridge that hold the birch assembly in place, this bridge, I'm sure, is adjustable also. However, I am not going to mess with that because the clock was taken away before I took this movement out of the clock. But I need to put the suspension spring and what's known as the pendulum leader assembly onto this movement. So stand by. Now this part right here is just a thumb screw that you unscrew to put the suspension spring in. Then the suspension spring unit, the pendulum leader unit, is this part right here that hooks onto the suspension spring, and you have to put it in a certain way. It goes in like so. There's tabs on this thing, so you have to find out where you can put it in order to push this thing up to grab. There's a hook, a divided hook that goes onto the suspension spring, and that hook catches onto the suspension spring just like so. Now this thumb screw here is when you have the pendulum on, to get the clock in beat. You can adjust you see right now the birch and crutch assembly isn't moving. That's because, and by the way, you want to make sure that the movement is level, and it was level. Stand by, let me level it back out. It's level again. And so, again, the crutch assembly is adjustable one way or the other. And once I adjust it right, the birch and crutch assembly will start rocking back and forth on the pallets, just like it is now. And so I don't think the movement is high enough up in the air, but I'm going to go grab the pendulum to see. As I suspected, the stand that I have it on, it's not high enough up in the air. At my table here, I might have to take it to a different table before I can hang the pendulum onto the crutch assembly. Now I brought the movement here in my kitchen, and I got it on that unit there. And so hopefully you can see what I'm fixing to do. Again, because I moved it, I had to put the chain back on. The crutch assembly is out of adjustment again. So I'm going to move it just a little bit to get it rocking back and forth. And then I'm going to hang the pendulum on it. Give it a swing. I got my beat amplifier on it. Again, this thumb screw is to adjust it also. But I prefer adjusting it up here at the virgin crutch assembly. Now you have to let it settle down and see if it has the even tick-tock on it. And I like doing this prior to putting it back in the case. However, if the movement isn't correctly level in the case, I might have to adjust the virgin crutch assembly or this thumb screw here to get it in beat. So I'm going to let this sit for a while. I went out today and I finished my son's studio apartment. I was on video chat with somebody on a couple of clocks for over an hour. It's time for me to take a break. I hope y'all are enjoying this video. I hope that you're learning things. That's the whole purpose behind me doing these videos. Grandfather clocks are not as hard as what most people think, unless you have an antique grandfather clock or you have a Josh movement like this thing right here. I really need to put it on that stand versus this stand because, again, my kitchen floor needs fixed. And so when I step on this plywood, that movement is moving around. And I don't have the proper weights on it anyway. I've got cuckoo clock 1,500 gram weights on it. So I almost got that Josh movement done. I just need to put proper weights on it. Still ticking away. I'm going to let it tick away while I take a break. Now leave me some comments. I hope y'all are enjoying this video and I hope that you're learning things. And please subscribe to all the channels I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Making these YouTube videos and giving out this free information takes up a lot of time, especially if you live out in the country, and you have slow internet, like Cheryl Adair, Michael Anderson, and myself. We all have slow internet, and posting a video to my internet sometimes takes 24 hours to do it. So please take this time and subscribe to all the channels that I mentioned, even if you don't collect torsion anniversary clocks. I guarantee that you will learn things from Torsiondale. Derek is his name. I guarantee you will learn things from him. I guarantee you'll learn things from Matthew Reed. He's a guy over in the UK. He's got about 3 different channels out there. One, he no longer posts videos to. He only did it back during COVID. His clock group was doing live video chats with him, and he was showing people how to repair things. I guarantee you'll learn something from almost every channel that I mention in these videos. Even if you don't buy a cuckoo clock from Jody Davis, what's it going to hurt for you to subscribe to her channel? It's free. It don't cost any money. It's free to subscribe to YouTube channels. So please, at least take the time to support her by subscribing to her channel. And by the way, I have mentioned this in other videos, because my dad flushed the depends on my toilet. It settled my house, so my house isn't correctly level in all places. So, I'm probably wasting my time here by doing this. However, I'm doing this to show you what to do. When I put the clock wherever I'm going to put it, I'm going to have to level out the clock, put shims under it, and I might have to readjust this crutch assembly. So the clock's been ticking away for a few hours now. However, you see how the pendulum barely moves? And that's because the pallets are not going into the escapement wheel enough to cause the pendulum to swing back and forth. And that could be part of this adjustment right here. So I'm going to play with this, or I might have to lower this bridge pendulum is swinging better, but now I have to leave it to see how much it moves after it settles down. I don't know if it's going to do it, but you see I screwed the screw for the pendulum all the way in, and it's barely moving, and every once in a while the teeth skip. So sorry, I screwed it all the way out, so I need to screw it in because I don't want the teeth skipping. And the burge assembly needs adjusted some. And I might have bent the crutch a little bit, so I'm going to have to fix that also. Clock has been ticking all night, and as you can see, it's got a good pendulum swing now. And the only thing I did was adjusted this screw right here. So now it's time to put the chains and the dial back on and put this clock movement back into the case. Before I put the movement back in this clock, I have to do some glass repair. This side panel came out, and this clock is held into place. Let me find a good piece. By this stuff right here. The glass is held in place by this stuff. You stick it in like so. But this stuff, there's already a piece there. This stuff is so old that it's kind of like a rubber. It is some sort of rubber, but it's so old that it's in a bunch of pieces. So I'm going to see if I can come up with something else that will hold that glass in. After talking to a friend of mine, Ron, who used to work in glass, he told me to go out and get these things right here. And I bought 2 packages, and they all came apart in the bag, but this is what they look like. And you push them in, and they got tabs on them to hold the glass in. They are too short to go down that way, and I was just gonna show you how they go. You just put them up that way, and he said take a putty knife and push them in. So that's what I need to do. Big screwdriver like I did, and push them in, and because they're sharp, they'll go into the wood. You don't want to push them too hard, it'll break your glass. And this is glass, this is not plexiglass. So I cleaned all the grooves out, and so I need to put all these things in. Either I'm doing it wrong, or these things are too small for this clock. So I can't use those, they keep popping out. So I got the movement back in by going in through the front, but lining up the hammer rods was kind of difficult. So I use wooden dowels to line up the holes, and that way I can use this find the holes that way I can put screws in. Now I got the chime rods in. I told you at the beginning of this that the chime itself was off, so I find moving the last three out of the way and starting from the beginning. That one's still a little bit off. I might have to adjust them a little bit more, but they're pretty close. And it's level with my house, both ways. Adjust the crutch assembly a little bit, and I'm going to leave it ticking away to see if it continues to tick away. But right now the pendulum swing is good. I don't have the chime and strike weight on, and I don't have the hands. It's been about 30 minutes and the clock is still ticking away. So now I'm gonna add the hands and the weights and all the other stuff. And before you add the weights to the chains, you want to make sure that the chain is on the winding arbor still, because you don't want to add the weight if the chain came off the arbor, or your weight is going to fall into the floor. I don't know if these are the original weights for this clock or not. I'm thinking after it's ran for a while, where the oil needs to get, it'll run like it's supposed to. And I need to put a shim underneath this clock. But anyway, it's up and running. It is a pearl model, Hermle pearl model with moon dial Westminster chime clock. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Please leave me some comments. Please subscribe to not only my channel, but to all the other channels mentioned. And may God bless each and every one of you.